Good morning from Valencia, Spain. First of all, I want to congratulate the advisory board of the organizing committee because by means of this interesting congress, we will have the opportunity to exchange and spread out all the works and proposals made in different educational spheres. As representative of the research team that has accomplished the investigation presented this paper, I also want to thank the possibility I have been given to offer my communications through this video in order to share and show the results of our work. Thus, with no more delaying, I will expose our work. In this presentation, I'm going to speak about the research project called Good Teaching Practices of Music Teachers in Secondary Education, a multiple case study, which has been accomplished with the collaboration of the Research and Scientific Politics Department of the University of Valencia, Spain. My communication will be divided into 6 parts. 1. A short description of the context, the University of Valencia and the Master of Secondary. 2. Why we have done this research. In this part, I will explain the reasons to initiate this project. 3. Theoretical frame. The theoretical base of our arguments used for this research. 4. Methodological frame. A qualitative research. 5. Then I will offer a short explanation about the results of the 6 cases we have documented for this research. 6. Finally, I will relate the final conclusions, the projection of our work, the troubles we have, and the possible lines of work for future. Now, I will go on with each of the parts. 1. The context. The University of Valencia of today is the outcome of more than 5 centuries of history that have led to the accumulation of knowledge and unique documentary treasures, making it one of the top Spanish universities. For more than 500 years, the development of the University of Valencia has run in parallel with the development of the city and has been an inextricable part of its urban fabric, creating spaces for teaching, research, creation, and dissemination of culture and science, as well as knowledge transfer. The University of Valencia has become one of the top 5 scientific centers in Spain, thanks to the wide range of teaching and research activities offered in all areas of knowledge, basic sciences, and engineering, health sciences, educational sciences, humanities and social sciences, economics and law, and its commitment to excellence. The current legal regulations in Spain established that the access to the regulated professions of teachers in the different fields in secondary education. The students must have a graduate or equivalent qualification and a pedagogical and educational training with the master's degree level. The master's degree in secondary education teaching by the University of Valencia provides this professional authorization required by the educational administration to practice the previously mentioned professions in secondary education, public and private centers. This master's degree is structured in different specialties corresponding to the current specialties of the secondary education. The master's degree provides both a basic training to the teaching practice in the secondary levels of the educational system and a specific training to one of the areas in which the previously mentioned professions are structured. The qualifications also includes a week placement period in educational centers. Reasons for researching. In the master's degree mentioned before, there is a specialization in secondary music teacher. Great part of the students that apply for this specialty comes from the high degree studies of the conservatory. That means that their training is oriented to music creation or playing, but they are not trained for education. If we have into account that secondary education is compulsory for all the young people, training of the conservatory is even less adjusted to be teacher of music at any high school. Being ourselves teacher of the master, we had the idea of initiating our research in order to find those good practices of secondary teachers who had a long and consolidate career. These samples extracted from our investigation will be used to be shown to our students as good examples of educational work. This way, we would also be closer to the reality of the classrooms today, and at the same time, we would have a didactical source bank for the different subjects in the specialty of music. 3. Theoretical frame. Broadly speaking, the theoretical frame has been made from the base of the literature we have found about the question of what little should be required in order to teach music in secondary education and high schools, graduated teachers in this specialty with the conservatory's title or with the bachelor's degree in musicology of history and science of music. Another possibility to be teacher of music comes from those graduated teachers of different areas who opt to public educations whenever they pass the examination that is compulsory for this field and obtain this specialization as expressed by Oriol, 2005. 4. Methodological frame. All research is included into the qualitative methodology which, in words of Taylor and Bogdan, 1986, is a manner of facing the empiric world in an inductive way, where the researchers see the scene and persons from a holistic point of view. Method used is that of the multiple case study, 6 cases in total, following robust directives as individual intensive and detailed research led us to accomplish a much deeper investigation. An elevated number of authors defend this methodology and consider it completely appropriate in order to reveal the diversity and richness of the human behavior, which is very hard to study using other methods. This case study is multiple because we have investigated 6 cases, 3 female and 3 male teachers with different sociological cultural context and teaching styles. At the end, after the analysis of the content of the teacher's speech, we report the characteristics of each teacher, detailed files that were used to make an audiovisual to be shown at the secondary master's classrooms to our students in order to give them good examples of professional practice. The phases in the process of our study were the following. Phase A. Firstly, we sent a questionnaires to 50 teachers in different secondary centers of the Valencia community. Then, by the answers, we point out 10 of them whose answers we deeply reviewed as their teaching practices too. And finally, we selected 3 female and 3 male teachers. Those considered excellent examples of good practice as per their activities, but also because of the diversity of their examples. Diversity that was what pretended to be one of the main features of our work. Phase B. Secondly, we acceded to the educational centers, contacted the directed team and the selected teachers. We asked them permission to enter in their school and also their participation in the research. We did not find opposition in any of the centers. Moreover, we arranged with them the dates for the interviews and the evidences documentation very easily. Phase C. In this phase, we interviewed one by one each of the protagonists of the selected cases. In this sense, they offered our help and collaboration and led us to review their teaching material and observe them in their classrooms, and gave us all kind of documentation that could be of our interest. Phase D. Once all the evidences were collected and the video interviews Finally, we made a transcription of the audio and video recordings in order to analyze the information we had. Later, with the descriptive and interpreted reports, we interviewed the protagonist. As any contrast, information was elementary for us. Phase E. After getting the consent of all the protagonists, we mount the audiovisual phase and phase F. Later, for the diffusion phase, we wrote device documents to be present in next educational congresses and magazines. Case number 1. A teacher whose teaching practices are based in the student body development. He does not conduct the lessons students research sounds and how it is produced, recorded, and reproduced again. This teacher uses many sources and elements from the information technologies, TIC. Case number 2. A female teacher who produced musicals in an interdisciplinary and cooperative way with the rest of subjects and teachers of a school in order to develop the principles of the connivance plan of the educative center where she is working. This way, she offers models of reference to face the conflicts that every day appear among the multicultural students' body by means of the musical activities. Case number 3. A teacher that arranges musical themes that his own pupils have selected. He adapts them to the level of knowledge and music technique of his students so that themes can be played with the musical instruments existing in his school. During his lessons, he develops the required technique in order to play the new orchestrations. We are later shown in concerts offered both at the school and outside. Case number 4. A female teacher who basically develops in all her lessons a musical sensitiveness through the movement in order to make later a repertoire with a student's orchestra and at the chorus of the school. With this activity, she does not only approaches the contents of the curriculum in music teaching, but besides she participates in all the parties celebrated at the school. At the same time, one of her goals is to participate in all the musical events that take place in her city organized by other institutions, so her pupils can develop their social skills by means of different meetings and scholar events. Case number 5. A teacher who used the Valencia's traditional music to approach the contents of the musical language at the same time that he reflects about the music and the human being evolution, or transformation and cultural meld of the human identity, being the music one of our fundamental features. Case number 6. A female teacher that used the chorus and the orchestra of her school as instruments for her program. She considers music at the school as a professional music and thinks that as school students must work in the diverse emotions and reactions that music produces in other ambits. That is the best way to study, understand and love music. Therefore, she adapts the contents and levels to her pupils. Now, I will synthesize some of the principal aspects of our research. After finishing the analysis of the data, we reached to a series of conclusions that help us to understand the success in the practice of these teachers. In first place, I will explain those conclusions that made us to find the common characteristics of their practices while being so different among them. We must point out they are real professional duties. A. Their initial training. They all have their first relation with music when they were very young. It was a complementary activity to their compulsory education, and they all were motivated by members of their family. B. Their proud vocation to be teachers of music. They all have in common that of the time they were studying music in the conservatory as a professional activity. They felt the necessity of teaching music with a method that was different to that they were learning, so they learned towards teaching instead of being professional musicians as they had been prepared at the conservatory. C. The meaning of teaching music in secondary, playing music in order to understand it. This is a common characteristic to the majority of the methodologies in the century 20, such as Dalcroze, Orff, and Edgar Williams. Music has to be lived and explored in order to intellectualize it later. All the protagonists of our research follow this line. D. The importance and dedication given to the day professional activity of the high school. It is part of their life's project and makes them to feel complete, both as human beings and as teachers who are committed with the society. E. Their altruistic spirit, their capacity to work in a team, and be leaders, they are continuously developing new educative projects. F. The way they consider teaching, a horizontal scheme where teacher and student work together towards a common finish without unkind and hierarchy. G. Their empathy with teenagers and their knowledge about the psychological factors that involve young people and their goal relationship with them both inside and outside their classroom. There are other characteristics more linked to their musical education, which are common to these teachers too. A. They all use and give importance to the different functions of the musical education, such as the sense motor, the audio perceptive, the cognitive, the ideational, and the denotative. This means that there are different ways to understand and fulfill the educative program contents. B. Probably they consider that students must be approached to the knowledge of the music language basic elements. For that, they start from the young compositions and no conventional graphics in order to reach this level. C. It is essential for them to teach all the procedural blocks of musical education, that is movement, dance, instrumentation, voice, but each teacher gives more emphasis to one of other depending on their previous knowledge and experience. D. Finally, they all show what is down into the music classroom with their qualities in similar activities, and also with the rest of the educative sphere. Therefore, they offer concerts to other students and teachers and also to the students' families. Conclusions. As we have observed through the documental evidences and the analysis of the data obtained during the whole researching process, we can affirm the following. Teachers feel completely satisfied when their educative labor is accepted by the student's body and the rest of the educative community. At the same time, the educative community appreciates this type of musical practices that are contextualized with their environment and produce shared activities. Teaching music at high schools must be useful for students to know the multiple possibilities they can find at a musical level, not only as music lovers of enthusiastic public in the future, but also as a way to work as professionals by means of the different jobs related to the music industry. Students enjoy much more those activities that are translated into significant learning. Studying of musical activities motivates them and increases their interest to learn and participate in the classroom. Music turns into a powerful tool for global education for the citizens, human being values and fundamental rights. Music in the 21st century may be understood as a basic subject because it can be used to access all the knowledge and contents included into the curriculum by generating significant learning. I will finish my communication mentioning some of the possible work lines to be developed in future, as we consider that this research is very interesting and could be enlarged with many other cases of music teachers who are doing good practice. This could be a versatile database to be used in diverse senses to show the richness and practice variety that could be accomplished at the secondary schools, really useful for the different teachers. Training studies such as the master's degree in secondary education teaching in other continuous training courses. Likewise, it should be created another kind of training which could study more deeply those aspects pointed out in each of the cases I have presented here, such as the reading-writing process in a detailed and reflective way, the sequence of the vocal technique exercises of the instrumentation ones, the alternative resource for students with special educative needs. In conclusion, researching on musical education is an incipient field that requires more investigations to create a scientific knowledge corpus in order to invert this field and to rise the educative community conscience of the importance of music as an educative resource. Thank you very much for your attention.